Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker. And, I am always looking for people, as I talk about every time I start my show, for people who are going to, challenge us and give us some new perspectives and give us a prod and a poke where we need it so that we can work smarter. So I'm excited today to, this woman says she is not effing around. So Dr. Amanda Barrientez said, basically, she is a business consultant who helps coaches and online entrepreneurs. They align their energy, which I talk a lot about too, mindset and habits to attract money using her proprietary NFA moneymaker method. So she's got special methods that can help us to attract more money, and that would be working smarter, right? So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Welcome.
Hey, Penny. Thanks for having me here.
Sure. So can I call you Dr. Amanda, or what's the right way to?
Amanda. Amanda's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
So tell me, people are always curious, right? When you say, I've got this method to help you make more money. So everybody's perked up and their ears are out and they're on the edge of their seat. So, how did you come upon this method, and why was it important to you to create and get out there?
Yeah. Well, so I'll say it's moneymaker methods. So it's many methods, not just one.
Okay. Good.
Yes. And I would say the first method is to become a master of yourself. So strategies to understand that you have to recreate yourself if you want different results. And so the thing that I really learned in my journey was that I didn't like the results I was getting. And I had a moment where I was crying on the floor and I was like, I got to change myself. And
why do we always have to be crying on the floor when we make that decision to change ourselves?
Right. You know why? Because we are too comfortable until we get so uncomfortable. And then we go like, okay, I actually have to change. And so change is hard. Most people, I call it the curse of the comfort zone, because if you're too comfortable, you're not really going to do that much to change because you're too comfortable. And so some people can live their whole entire lives in that zone where they go like, I'm pretty comfortable. I don't really need to change. And I think those individuals actually have the hardest time shifting because there's nothing that has knocked them down too far to go like, I got to actually do something here. Now, I don't have to be on the floor crying to make changes because I see the power of how easy it can be to get the outcome you want when you just decide to change yourself instead of having something knock you down to do it.
Right.
But most people, when they get
challenging yourself, right? You can, if you can break through that, then you can put that as a regular practice.
Totally. Yeah. I always like to say you choose your challenges as you learn these tools. You choose challenges instead of have things knock you on your butt to help you change.
Yeah. I think we would like that. Many people's probably taking their head on it. I would like that. Yes.
Yes.
So you found it by necessity. And I think a lot of people do. COVID was one of those necessities, is that we have to, I think that change and radical change is and often can be a catalyst, but people see it as a stressor, right? Yeah. How could you help to reframe people's mindset to see any kind of circumstance that's outside of their control, or even within their control, right? That this constraint or circumstance could be a catalyst.
That's exactly how I look at change and knowing that the only thing you have the power to change is yourself, your thoughts, your decisions, your actions. That's the only thing you're in control of. You can't control other people. You can't control COVID. You can't control anything else. And when you do that, I think people get really scared. Because like you were saying, it's like you could face the change and go, you could have the mindset of like, this sucks. Growth is hard. I don't want to do it. It's everyone else's fault. Or you can go, wow, I actually have a magic wand to create whatever I want when I decide that I'm the one who's creating my reality. So I always say that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And if you don't like what you're getting on the outside, you got to change what's within. And so you've got to decide, I'm the center of my universe. Something in me needs to change in order to get a different result. And this could be time, productivity, money, love, anything. If you don't like what you're getting on the outside, you've got to start looking at yourself, which most people, that can be a very empowering thing. And they can go like, oh, awesome, it's in my control. Or they can go, what? It's not my parents' fault. It's not my partner's fault. It's not the, COVID's fault.
Yeah. 3/4 of the people listening to this are like, yeah, this is BS, right?
Yeah.
I don't have the time. You should see what I have to do. I've got, 3 kids. I've got, a business that I'm running. I've got 10 people reporting to me. I've got et cetera, et cetera. They could go on and on about their list, right? So people are in resistance. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot is we resist. And, there's that expression, what we resist persists. So I do think, and I talk a lot about too, getting in relationship with your results, because there's a disconnect often as to how we show up and what we do, and then the results that we get, and we don't connect that we're the common denominator.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think one of the benefits of me being on the floor crying, and when I share my story, people are like, oh my God, well, if you could do it, I could, because I was on food stamps, 3 kids, single mom, grad school, and I built my business to 6 figures in the first year. And that's because I decided to take responsibility for my outcomes. And so, when people say I don't have the time, I go, good one. I was like reading 3 books a week, writing papers, teaching classes, driving kids around, and building a business at the same time. So I go, okay, time that you're a victim of time is an excuse that you use to blame other people, blame the outer world for your results, instead of going, okay, how am I going to be a powerful NFA style person who makes time?
So how did you do that?
I started by listening to podcasts. And so I always tell people, we talked at the beginning about energy and mindset alignment. Everything comes from the way that you think and believe and how you feel. So whatever you get in your results is based on your paradigm of believing and thinking. And that comes from your mindset. So I tell people you have to do daily mindset training. It's really fascinating to me that we go like, oh, I want to live a great life. I want to feel confident and sexy and powerful and have money and have a great relationship. But then when you ask people and they say like, oh, I'm stuck, I'm struggling, I'm miserable, I'm on the treadmill of just the rat race, I'm not happy. And then you go, how many personal growth and development books did you read last year? 0, maybe 1. When do you ever take time to work on yourself? Never. I don't have time. That's usually the number one excuse. Right. And you go, okay, well, you're going to keep getting the same results you've always gotten because you're not willing to work on yourself. And you are the key, like you said, common denominator of your entire reality. So if you don't like those parts of your life, you've got to make changes. No one's going to come and rescue you and pick you up off the ground and say, here's $1 million and a great relationship and a healthy body and an awesome life. You've got to do the work to have those things. You've got to become a different person that creates those things.
So I think there's still a lot of people thinking, I don't understand. I care about personal growth, but I still don't have the time. I don't know how you make time or money out of that. Right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah, maybe.
So, how do you help them understand it?
I don't. I say to people, you got to be hungry, you got to be ready, you got to make a decision, you got to commit and recommit every day. I don't talk people into making time and using it. Like if someone comes to me and they're using that excuse, I say, okay, awesome. Go on your merry way and keep creating the life you've got. Like if you're going to hang out with me and you're going to work with me and you're going to learn from me, you're going to decide, okay, teach me how to create the time and optimize my time and be more productive and enjoy my life and do what I love and get paid to do what I love. Mm-hmm. Like you got to be ready. I'm not one of those people that rescues people from their victim mindset. I'm one of those people that goes, come see me when you go like, oh my God, I've been stuck in a victim mindset. I'm ready to change. So you got to be ready. You've got to be ready. No one can make you ready but yourself.
Right. Well, that's good, right? For people to hear. And if they're caught up in excuse that what I'm hearing you say is they're not ready.
Yeah. They're not enough pain yet.
Not enough pain or not a connection or not enough desire, right? Sometimes
exactly.
Pain or desire.
Too comfortable, just too comfortable.
Right.
Too scared. They could be scared. I mean, fear plays a huge part, but these are all excuses we use, right? Like we go like, I'm scared. And usually that's not the conscious thing. The most common one, and I love that it's, we're talking about productivity in time, is because that is the most common excuse. I don't have time. And I go, okay, everyone has the exact same amount of time in a day. Right. So how is it that some people are incredibly productive and have a lot of free time, and some people feel like they're overwhelmed and overburdened all the time? It's a mindset shift. And it's once you have the mindset shift, your habits follow, and it goes together, right? It's a self-perpetuating feedback cycle. So once you decide, I'm going to do something different, I'm going to start becoming a master of my time, I'm going to do things a little bit differently, and you take small strategic actions that over time lead to autopilot habits that get you in a new direction, then it gives a feedback loop, because you start to feel better. And then you go like, oh, I actually do have some power here. And so you've got to start somewhere. So when people are really stuck, I give them, I like to think of them as micro shifts. Like you're micro shifting your mindset, your energy, your habits. You're not going like, oh, I'm on the couch stuck, I'm 50 pounds overweight, my money is I have no money, I don't feel good about my relationships. You don't go from that place to like, I'm going to go run a marathon and make $1 million this year and, find the love of my life. You got to take small steps. And so you got to start somewhere. And the easiest place to start is go like, do one thing every day that brings you joy, one small thing. And
so that's like, okay, one of the things that strategies that you help people is making that micro shift around bringing more joy into their lives.
Absolutely. Because joy is such a high frequency. So I always have a drop ad list. So if people go, what do you hate doing? What's misaligned? What sucks your energy? What do you love to do? What gives you energy? What inspires you? The things on your drop list, start dropping, automating, or delegating. And on your ad list, do more of that every day. It's like the simplest habit shift.
I have a sticky note somewhere here because I have a lot of sticky notes around me at the moment. I'm trying to clean those up. But one of them says joyification.
Yeah.
I'm in a joyification process. Is that busy and all these things that we've got going on, sometimes they can suck the joy right out of our life. Busy sucks the joy out of our life. So we have to take it back. We have to take it back. So I love that that's the number one thing, is just to find those pockets of joy.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny. Just this morning, I was writing down notes exactly what you're talking about, which was that busy piece. Nice. I love it. Yeah. It's that busy piece because when you're in a state of business, you can't even slow down enough to go what's working, what's not, which is the drop ad list. Right. And when you make the time to do those things, and I want everyone to hear this, you make time for what's valuable to you.
I love that. I always use the analogy, like if I gave you 2 tickets to your favorite concert, but you've got other stuff to do, you're going to find backseat tickets, right? Like backstage with your favorite performer, you get to meet and greet them. You're going to find a way to cancel, change, whatever you need to do to be at that concert, right? We know how to do it. We just don't use those skills the way that we sometimes do.
Exactly. So like in that, it's an incredible example because we will, so for whatever we highly value, we will make time for it. Right. Like, let's say you're a parent and you have kids and they're in need. You're going to make time in your schedule to go help them. Like you'll drop everything for it. Right. Because you highly value your kids. So why don't we highly value ourselves enough to make time to nurture ourselves, take care of our bodies, learn how to become masters of ourselves, because you're the one central part of everything you get in your life.
Absolutely. That's the number one thing that I do is I decommit. I drop things as soon as I start feeling like I'm overwhelmed, like, there's too much going on. I'm in the practice of noticing. Right. So as soon as I notice that, I start to drop things. I start to go, that's not really necessary for me to do today or tomorrow or this week. Let's move it. And so that's like one of my favorite things to do is to reorganize, because just the act of doing it and taking it off my schedule is like allows you to breathe. That.
Yeah, I love it because you said decommit, right? Is that what you said? Yeah. So it's like, I was just talking to someone about, like it's the recommitment every day. So you've got to commit to something and recommit. And then the drop is the decommit. It's like decommit to things that are not bringing you joy, decommit to things that are sucking your energy, decommit to the things that are shoulds, decommit to the things. That's how you make time. And time is powerful because time is money, right? Time. And the reason we want money is because we want time freedom. But we always think once I have the money, I'll create time freedom. It's the opposite. You create the time freedom, the money comes because you're doing what you enjoy. And that's a magnetic frequency.
Right. Right. It makes sense. Are you guys getting this? Hello? Hello? I mean, the name of the show is Take Back Time, right? So I think that's the beautiful paradox that you just said is, that we go from a perspective of when I have more money, I'll have more time, but it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. So do yourself a favor and make time now.
Yes.
Time now.
Yes.
So what other, I'm curious, what's your definition of productivity and why?
God, that's a great question. I would say that it's actions that bring you closer to fulfilling your vision in life and business. So it's, true productivity is not busy work. It's strategic decisions and commitment and actions that every day get you closer to fulfilling your vision. And in that vision that's always expanding, it's you going, "Ooh, I learned more about myself today. And I love what I'm doing. And I get to be in my zone of genius and I get to play." And it's like productive actions that lead to fun and joy. That's, to me, that's the power of productivity. It's not just for the sake of going, I checked a whole bunch of boxes because I feel bad if I'm not busy, because I have a guilt complex and money blocks around thinking I have to work hard to make money.
So, I want to step back because I think a lot of what we're talking about, a lot of entrepreneurs can appreciate, but there are people also who are listening who are in the corporate world, right? So they're not their own boss. They don't have as easy chance to decommit on things as I might, or you might. Do you have joy? Everybody can find joy, right? So that's for everybody. Is there something specifically that you would recommend for people who have bosses and have less flexibility of some of the things on their schedule?
Yeah. Boundaries and learning to say no, huge in everybody's life. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a CEO or, anyone in any career, in any situation where you're working with people, you got to learn boundaries and you've got to learn to say no to things. And this is, again, like a drop list, right? Saying no is one of the most powerful ways to be productive in your highest inspirations. And so, of course, if you're at work, you can't say no to your boss about everything. Right. And yet people don't think they can say no as much as they actually can. So, I work with in my one-on-one coaching, I work with some CEOs and teach them how to say, is this in my highest ROI action for what you've hired me for? Or are you just filling my plate with busy work that could actually be given to an assistant or somebody else? Because the interesting thing about people who are busy and productive, they're the first ones that want to be asked to do more, because they will always say yes and fit it in, because they're good at a lot of things, because they're good at getting things done. And if you keep filling your plate with all the busyness and the just, kind of the list of nonsense, then you're going to always feel overwhelmed, overburdened, and people are going to keep piling it on. So you've got to learn, no, this is what I do best. This is what you hired me for. And here's where we need to have somebody else to take over these roles so that I can be powerful in my zone of genius. And in companies that are the most powerful, they know how to delegate well. They create leaders out of leaders, and it's people who can communicate that and know, like, here's my zone, here's what I'm amazing at, and here's what I need to drop, automate, and delegate. And that creates time for people and creates energy, and it creates expansion for themselves and the whole company.
So what I'm hearing is, and I don't know that I've made this connection before, but what I'm hearing is that it's a little bit of a self-worth question, right? Because when I'm in my self-worth, I don't see it as saying no, because sometimes you don't have to say no. You can ask for clarification. Like, what is it, what is it specifically? Like, maybe can this be broken down into different parts, right? We don't ask enough questions and get enough clarity around it. Is this the best thing for me? Would you rather that I do this over this? Sometimes you don't have to come with a definite no, but you can say, I can only do one of these, which is more important to you? And you might say, I'm better at this. Let's have someone else do this and make a suggestion. But as I was thinking it through, I think that not setting boundaries has something to do with our self-worth. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Again, it links back to the time thing you were talking about, where we will make time for what we value. If we don't value ourselves, we don't make time for ourselves. If we don't value ourselves, we say yes to everything. So I love what you said. It's about, instead of, you could even rephrase it as, learn to say no. You could rephrase that as, don't always go to the automatic yes, right?
Yeah, just ask more questions.
Negotiate, ask questions, go, hey, well, so I've got this much time on my plate. Do you want me to do this or this? What do you prefer? You're my boss. If that's what you want me to do, well, then I got to offload some of these other tasks that you've created for me. So that takes somebody who has self-worth, and boundaries are 100% tied to self-worth. Because people who don't value themselves don't know how to, they let other people's emergency become their urgency.
Yeah.
And so then they feel inclined to say yes to everything. When you start to develop your self-worth, you charge what you're worth. You say, you're able to set boundaries. You're able to ask questions, get clarifications instead of just automatically going, I got to say yes to be liked, to be stay in this position, to prove myself. It's a proving of self type of thing.
It's proving of self. It's also, I get it, like, I also see it as a come from of wanting to please, wanting to be there for other people and so forth. But, at what cost?
Right. Again, so that's self-worth. It's self-worth though, right? Because if you're pleasing other people at the expense of your own sanity,
right.
You don't value yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And this shows up big time in anyone who's in a career and entrepreneurs all the time. It looks like imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome, you don't value yourself because you've got to prove yourself, which means you've got to say yes to things and do things you don't want, and then undercharge, over deliver, and you're always burnt out, not having enough time.
Yes, for sure. There was something that just came to my mind, and it'll come back. I lost it.
It'll come back at the right moment.
So do you have any other shortcuts or tricks that you use that help you to, shift in the moment, or a question that you ask yourself? Like you said, there was a question that you have your CEOs ask, which you mentioned. Are there any other pivotal questions? Because I feel, just to pre-frame that, I think that, I call myself the focusologist.
I love it. Yeah.
It is a question of those simple shifts, and a question can shift our focus entirely, right? It can change our come from and direct our focus in different directions. So I'm a big fan of changing the questions that we have. The questions that we have aren't getting us the results that we want. Back to your point about results. So what questions do you ask yourself, or do you have your clients ask themselves, that help them to get better results?
I'll give you the simplest one. And it's interesting because I'm thinking back, it was the very first YouTube video I ever did. It was, I think I called it the ultimate mindset switch strategy. And it's 3 words, very simple. How can I? So how can I? And then, so you could go, how can I take back time? How can I create more time? How can I drop the things I don't enjoy? How can I find more joy in my life? How can I make more money faster? How can I talk to my boss about this issue? Because what happens is, instead of going, can I, or I don't know what to do, our brain gets into this mode of focusing on the problem. And when we're in problem mode, we attract more problems to us and we feel stuck. When we're in solution orientation, our brain is a problem-solving operating system. So when you plug in a how can I question, it starts to look for solutions. So you get into that solution mode, and your brain gets more expansive and more creative and more brainstorming, which is a much more fun flowing energy. So it's the simplest start to any, how can I? I mean, I've been stuck in some serious places before where I'd get stuck in there, just go okay, I would go on a run. I love to run. And so I'd run, and the whole run, my task to myself was just to say, how can I this? How can I that? By the end of the run, all the problems were solved because I had solutions. My brain, when it's oh, there's 50 solutions to everything.
Goes into solution mode. Absolutely. Right. There's many ways to, I don't know why that stupid expression comes up, to skin a cat. I don't want that expression, but many ways to do things.
Yeah, I always say there are a million ways to make $1 million. A lot of us, my business is focused on helping people heal their relationship to money so that they can charge what they're worth, feel good, make easier money, have time freedom, ultimately. Right. And so it's you go I want to get into solution orientation mode, and I want to know that there's always solutions to everything. And it's just shifting your brain and training it in the direction of being solution oriented.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of that as well, because we get stuck in the problem sometimes, and, we're human. Yeah. It's okay. Just recognize it, be a noticer. And recognize where you are and notice what's going on and what you're focused on, so that you can shift that focus. Sometimes I find if you add before the how can I, if you add even though, and then you say what the problem is, so you acknowledge it, right? The challenge or whatever you're stuck in, even though, I don't have any money, how can I still go to that concert, right? So I find that also helps people to give it an acknowledgement, but then also shift, right? It has both sides of the shift.
Yeah, I like that. It's similar. I say, until now, I've been feeling this. How can I shift in this way?
Right.
Yeah, it's a really, and because what we tell ourselves in our brain is incredibly powerful. Anything you say after the statement, I am, is going to program your subconscious mind with your belief system. And then your reticular activating system, which is a part of your brain, tracks to prove to be true what you're believing and thinking, whether it's subconscious or conscious. And so if you say, I'm struggling, I don't have enough time. Okay, so here we're talking about time. I don't have enough time. You keep programming your brain with that. You are creating that in your reality because you're looking for that to be true. And so you've got to reprogram your brain in a different direction. And it's just a habit. At first, it's hard because you're so used to doing the negative and you're so used to focusing on the problems. Once you start training in a direction, it gets easier and easier and easier to where that becomes your new autopilot habit. So just like any habit formation and change, you got to do it day by day, step by step, and it gets easier and easier. And then all of a sudden you notice like, oh my God, I think completely differently. You know, like when I was on food stamps and not making any money and freaked out, I had a lot of work to do because I had a lot of negative programming in my brain. I was in super victim mindset mode. And so it took daily, consistent, like reprogramming. And every time I caught myself, you know, you're talking about the power of noticing. It's like, I would just notice and I'd be like, okay, wait, stop, do something different, think something different, turn on a podcast,
right? Break you know, pattern, right? It's just a pattern of thought, just like running a CD, a record, you know, whatever. It's just a pattern. And the more you break the pattern, right? That's why you said practice, the more you break it. And so find something that helps you to break it. Every time you see it, you know, do something that helps you to do that. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So it looks like our time has come to an end. So, because we, you know, everybody, first of all, we had great nuggets, great conversation. And at the same time, people's attention span gets a little low and more than this, and they won't put it into practice. So where can people reach you and tell me, you know, where they can go and get more information about you and what you're doing?
Yep. Everything is easy to find on nfamoney.com. So if they go to nfamoney.com, they'll find all kinds of free stuff. I have a Money Blocks profile quiz that they can take. I have access to my podcast and YouTube channel. If they would love podcasts, obviously they're here. So it's called Max Potential Money is my podcast. And I release an episode every week. So there's lots of gold nuggets there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was great. I love talking about this stuff and hopefully you all like listening to it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And thank you all again. Thank you for being here. Make sure that you subscribe, leave us a review. Go check out Amanda's site and take that quiz and find out where you are right now. That's a way to notice, right? Is to take a quiz just to give you some heightened awareness. Some great tips today, focusing on some better questions, really getting in relationship and understanding, you know, what's working and what's not working. Very simple, practical tools, right? Just add a little bit more joy to your life. Join me in the joyification for the coming year. So thank you all. My name is Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.